Lower elementary students. Today we are going to create a book that has all of the land and water forms that we are going to be learning about. So for this project, you will need some white paper. You'll need two different colors of construction paper. I just happened to choose some green and some blue, water representing the blue and green representing land. But if you don't have those colors, it's okay. You can use two different colors. I will also need some glue. I will use either a ruler or sometimes you can find something that has a nice straight edge. It might be part of a notebook that is nice and straight that you can use to help you to make some straight lines. And then you'll need a writing utensil. So to prepare my booklet, I cut out some white sheets of paper. I went through and I actually measured. I did, and this is just what I chose, 4 inches by 4 inches and made a nice square for my booklet. You don't have to use the same measurements, but as you're going through and creating your squares, when you do come up with your squares for the land and the water, you're going to want to make that smaller. So because I did 4 inches here, I chose to do 3 inches across by 3 inches across here, just to make space so that we can put our land and water forms onto our paper and still have some space so that we can label it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my straight edge or my ruler, and I am going to use some lines so that the title of my book looks nice and neat. And so I am going to draw a line. Actually, I'll probably draw a couple lines since it's a longer title. And then I'm going to draw a line down here so we can make sure to know who the author is of our story or our book, which will be you. So I have some lines for my title. And our title needs to have something to do with what it is that we're creating our book about. So as you learned in our last lesson, we talked about land and water forms. So we can title this our book of, remember when we have a title, we should always capitalize the most important words. So I capitalize the B in book of land, capital L, and water, capital W, forms. Now down below here, we want to make sure that we know who is creating this. And so I would put down here by and my name, but you will put your name. And this is Combs. Again, my name is important. I am a proper noun, so I'm going to put a capital M and a capital C for Mrs. Combs. The next thing that I'm going to do is make sure that I create the first 2 water and land forms that we talked about. So as a reminder, we discussed a lake and an island. And so if you notice in our lake and in our island, there is either water that's in the center or land that's in the center. And so we're going to create that piece right here. So I have my blue for my water and my green for my land. And I'm going to stack those right on top of each other. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut a straight line to where I created my land or my water. I'm going to trace around, or I should say cut around, the shape that I traced, keeping my two pieces of paper together. Now, it's okay if you have this piece right here because we're going to glue this together. So no worries there. So now I'm going to go to the next page of my booklet. On there, I'm going to focus first on the lake. And as a reminder, a lake is when we have a collection of water that is completely surrounded by land. So I'm going to take my piece of land here. And I'm going to match up the piece of the blue or the lake. And I'm going to glue this onto my piece of paper. So take this, find my glue. We won't worry about the fact that there is a spot right there that's been cut into because we're just going to glue all of that back together. Need to do a little extra glue in that spot like I need to because it's been moved around a little bit. And there is our land. And again, I'm going to double check that this lines up. So I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to go on the back side of it, put some glue on, and I'm going to go ahead and label at the bottom that this is a lake. Then I can go to my next page and do the same thing. This time though, I'm going to create my island. So my island again is when we have a piece of land. It's represented by the green that is completely surrounded by water. So I will take my glue again. I'm going to put a little bit more glue here by where my scissor cut is to make sure that that gets glued nicely and so that we don't have any white space on there. I'll try to line that up as much as I can with the top. And then again, I'll double check, does my piece fit in nicely? It's kind of like a puzzle piece, and it does. I'm going to flip that over, put my glue on there, and fill in my puzzle piece. And again, I'm going to label body of land that has, I should say, a piece of land that has a body of water all the way around it is called an island. Slow down and make sure that I'm using my best print because I'm creating a book that I want to look beautiful. So next we want to make sure that we have space to describe each of the water and land forms. So once again, I'm going to use my straight edge. And you don't have to use a ruler. Let me show you. I could use, for example, this pad of paper right here. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to create a line. And this is going to help so that it looks nice and neat as I go through and explain what an island is and what a lake is. So you may need a few lines on your paper. Some of you may need more, some of you may need less. So you decide on how much you need. We're going to do this one page for the island and then one page for the lake. I'll give you a moment to do that. So now we need to describe our land and our water form. We're going to start first with our lake. You can see again that the blue represents the water and the green represents our land. So we might say a lake. Remember, every time we start a sentence, we capitalize that first word. A lake is a collection of water surrounded by land. Please remember that when we get to the end of our sentence, we want to have some kind of punctuation. We are stating something for people to know, so we are going to put a period at the end. So now we've got the cover of our book. We've got a picture labeled, and now we have a definition. So we know that a lake is a collection of water surrounded by land. So we would put that next. Now we're going to describe an island. So we would say an island, because island starts with an I, which is a vowel. So instead of using the word a or we say an island is a piece of land surrounded feel free to take your time by water. Again, we're stating something. We're not asking questions here, so we put a period at the end. So now island comes next. Then the description of what an island is. I would suggest writing this first in pencil. And then if you want to make it a little bit bolder and go over it in a colored pencil or a marker, then you can do that afterward. But it's always nice to put it in pencil first. That way, if you write something incorrectly, you can erase it and rewrite it so it looks nice. So now we have a wonderful start to a book. Book of Land and Water Forms by and your name. We turn the page. Our first page shows us what a lake looks like, and then it describes it. A lake is a collection of water surrounded by land. The second form is an island. An island is a piece of land surrounded by water. You will have more water and land forms to add to this. So I do hope that you will keep this all together nice and neat and ready for your next lesson. And feel free to read this to somebody by you in your home so that you can practice with learning these names and definitions. I hope you enjoyed creating this book.